What's up, folks? I'm Dwayne, and this is Blackboard Gaming, where we teach you about all these great board games that are out there, waiting to be played by you and yours.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complication.
Hey, everybody. So today, I want to talk about some board games that I feel has some issues. Now, these board games are some of our go-to board games that we use when we're trying to introduce folks to this world of modern board gaming. These are games that we've played at our board game meetups, and these are games that we have played when we're hanging out with family and friends. Now, the issues that I want to discuss aren't necessarily the game's fault. Sometimes it's in learning the game or teaching the game or making sure everybody understand how to win the game, how to score points. And these are issues that you may already be aware of. But if not, I want to make sure that you, as the board gamer, are aware of the issues that will come up when checking out these different board games. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and get right through this list. So the first game that I want to talk about is this game that we just played at our last board game meetup, and that is Sea Salt and Paper. Now, Sea Salt and Paper is a game with beautiful origami art. It's just cards, and you're collecting sets, and you're trying to be the first person to get to a certain number of points. So on your turn, you're going to draw two cards from the deck of cards, and you're going to keep one, and then you're going to discard the other one into one of two discard piles. Or instead, you could just take one card off the top of one of the discard piles and put it in your hand. And then throughout the game, there are certain cards that pair up that allow you to do a certain action. They'll also score you points, but if you play them in front of you, they will also give you a certain action that you could take. Like you can go through one of the discard piles and find a card, or you could draw a card off the top of the deck, or you could take another turn. Now, where the issues turn up is how getting people new to board game, how to understand how the scoring works. Like I said, you're trying to be the first to get to a certain number of points, but how you get to those points. So when a player has collected enough cards in their hand or in their play area that will give you at least 7 points, then they have the option to either say stop, which everybody will just reveal all their cards and then they would just score points straight up, or they can say last chance. And last chance, everybody else gets one more turn, and then everybody reveal their cards. And so if the person that says last chance has obtained the more points than everybody else, then not only will he get his points from his cards, but he'll also gain his color bonus. So he would get 1 point for each card that he has the most of in a specific color. And then everybody else will just score their color bonus. Now, if that player that called last chance failed, let's say he got 9 points, somebody else got 10 points, then he will only score his color bonus. Now, there are two issues that come up. The first issue is that is a hefty penalty. So let's say you got 10 points and you say last chance, and then you end up not having the most points, then you will only score your color bonus. And let's say you only got 2 cards of that, the most of in that specific color, so you only got 2 points instead of 10. Also, on the other hand, if you fail, then everybody else will only score their color points. So that is a hefty penalty to take in. And that doesn't leave a good feeling, The other thing is this push your luck, saying last chance to begin with. So not everybody who plays this game will understand like do I say that or do I keep going? And they're wondering how they don't know how to jive with that push your luck element. But that is the element of this game that makes it stand out from other simple set collection games. So I appreciate that. I really do enjoy sea, salt, and paper. My wife does not enjoy it because understanding that push your luck and also making sure you know how to count up all your points, that doesn't jive with her. And there are people that I've introduced this to that feel the same way. Now, there are other people that really love the game. So I'm just making sure you're aware that if you're introducing this to people, they're trying to wrap their head around that scoring aspect. So it may not jive with everybody. And that is sea, salt, and paper. The next game that I feel has some issues is another game we just played at our last board game meetup. And this is a game we played a lot of in 2024. And that is Things and Rings. Now, in Things and Rings, we're going to create a Venn diagram in the middle of the table. And each player is going to get dealt a hand of 5 cards. It's this big deck of cards that represent various items, like lamps or cats or houses or whatever. And so the object of the game is to be the first to get rid of all the cards in your hand. So one person is going to be chosen as the knower. And each section of the Venn diagram is going to be given a clue. And there's a deck of clue cards, and there's rated from easy to difficult. And let's say one section of the Venn diagram is going to be attributes. So let's say attribute is made of metal. And then one section of the Venn diagram is another section rather is going to be the makeup of the word. So it might be a compound word or something. And then another section will be context, like usually found inside. And so the knower is going to place a clue for that clue for each of those attributes. He's the only one that's going to know those clues. And then everybody else is going to be trying to get rid of the card. So they're going to take a card and they're going to place it in a specific section of the Venn diagram. And then the knower is going to say, hey, no, it doesn't belong there. It goes here. And that player has to draw another card. Or he's going to say, yeah, that's right. And then that player gets to place another card. And like I said, you're trying to be the first to get rid of all the cards in your hand. Now, here are the issues. First of all, the knower is subjective. So when a player plays a card, for his opinion, he might say, no, that goes over here. But his opinion might not match up with everybody else, So when the clues are revealed, when somebody gets rid of all their cards and the clues are revealed, then the knower is going to be catching a lot of flack because he's like, well, why'd you put that there? It is hard being the knower in this game. Now, I introduced this game to Mick and Starla over at Our Family Plays Games, back at Grand Con. And I was the knower, and as we're playing, I could tell that they were like, I don't know how I feel about this game. So in the next round, I invited Starla. Hey, Starla, why don't you be the knower? That way she could see how hard it is to be the knower, and she understood it, And so that's one issue that you would have. Like, for example, like I said, we just played this at our board game meetup, and I was the knower, and the attribute was has one or more holes. And so somebody had placed a kitten out there, and they put it in the area, in a specific area. And I said, no, it goes over here, which I felt goes into part of this section, because these items can match up with all 3 sections, or they can match with none of them. We would place it in an area that has none, And so I felt that it matched with has one or more holes, right? Because a kitten got to eat, got to smell, got to hear, So there's more than one hose. And so it threw other people off because there was Swiss cheese over there. So they were trying to figure out Swiss cheese, kitten. It didn't click. And so when we finally somebody got rid of their cards, I caught a lot of flack from that, mainly from my wife, you know. And so the next round, I was a player and another player was a knower, and I was able to get rid of all my cards. I had no idea what none of the clues were. But is that the object of the game? No. The object of the game is to get rid of all the cards in your hand. That is the object. You may not figure out what the clues are, but get rid of all the cards in your hand and you'll win the game. And so I think the issue in lies is people understanding that, you know, the knower, it is a hard job being the knower. I think everybody has to at least be the knower so they can understand the subjective nature of being in that role. But other than that, we've had a lot of fun playing this game. It gets a lot of conversation, a lot of pushback or whatever, but we have really enjoyed things in rings. The next game that could create an issue, but it's not the game's fault. And this is a game that I had in my top 10 games of 2024, and that is the game. Now, the game is cooperative poker. Now, I don't really play poker. I know about, you know, the more powerful hands having the best hand or whatever, but I don't really get into playing poker because playing poker usually involves losing money, and I don't like losing money. So, but I was excited when I heard about this game, you know, because like I said, it gave me an outlet to actually try out poker. And so in this game, we are cooperatively trying to make the best poker hands in order to break into this vault. And we are trying to rate who has the most powerful who has the weakest poker hand based on these tokens. And if we put those poker hands in proper sequence, then we broken into the vault. And we do that 3 times, then we win the game. But also, if we don't put them in the proper sequence, we set off an alarm. If we do that 3 times, we lose the game. Now, where can the issue turn up? Because the game gives you really great player aids, you know, to show you the the powerful poker hands, you know, where they rate. Now, the issue comes from you will find out who the professional poker players are and who the ones that are new to poker. You know, now I played this with my Friday night board game group, and they play poker. So they understand like being able to read people and understanding the chances of certain cards coming up or whatever, whereas I was the newbie. So if we lost, then 9 times out of 10, it was my fault because I wasn't rating my poker hand. So I think, and that's a little small issue, but that's an understandable issue because if you got somebody who's really good at poker or they're playing with people who are not good at poker, then they might get a little frustrated because they're doing like, I'm doing my poker hand right, but everybody else, we're not breaking through this vault, and we need to just put our poker hands in the right sequence. And so, like I said, other than that, I love this. Win or lose, I love trying to rate the poker hands. I love trying to figure out, you got the best poker hand or whatever. And this, like I said, this game, in my top 10 of 2024, I really enjoyed this game, and that is the game. Speaking of hands of cards, this next one is a twofer. So, these are games that we've introduced to people, and people really love it, but there is a slight issue that will come up no matter what. And so, it's Scout, and we also have Trio. Now, Scout and Trio are 2 different games. Like, Scout, it's a card shedding game. You're trying to get rid of all the cards in your hand by playing pairs or cards in ascending sequence out onto the table. And if you're not able to do that, then you have to scout, and you might have to take a card from the cards that's on the table. Trio, you're pretty much just trying to collect 3 sets of 3 different numbers. The numbers are, there's 1 through 12, and there's 3 of each of those numbers, and you're going around the table asking people to play their lowest or their highest card, and you're trying to collect the 3 different sequences, three trios of numbers rather. Now, why did I pick both of these? Because there's one issue that people have, and sometimes it doesn't click. Both of these games, you cannot rearrange your hand.
Says who?
Now, there's another game called Wind the Film where you can't rearrange your hand. But that game has a lot of other things. That's not a game that I'm introducing to people that are new to the board game hobby. But these 2 games I will introduce. They have gone over well. But getting people to understand that you cannot rearrange your hand can be an issue. Now, I had a time when I was introducing somebody to Trio, a group of people to Trio, and they were able to get the 3 8s out in front of them, and one of the 8s they said was in their hand. But then somebody asked that same person, what's your highest card? And they revealed a 12. And like, wait a minute, how can you reveal a 12? You just played the 8. And they're like, well, I thought I could do that. And like, no, you cannot rearrange your hand. You can only play your highest or your lowest card. So that round was a bust, and we had to start over. So just getting people to understand, you cannot rearrange your hand. And that's just a challenge. You know, I don't know if it's more of an issue, it's more of a challenge. You may have to get people to understand. You can't rearrange your hand. So that's my twofer, Scout and Trio. Both very great games. So the next game I want to talk about is this game, Green Team Wins. Now you're wondering like, wait a minute. Now that game is really, really light. How can that game have an issue? Well, this is more of an issue of understanding how to score points, because in Green Team Wins, everybody's going to be given a question like this or that, or pick one of 3, or fill in the blank. The thing is, you're not trying to get the right answer. You're trying to get the majority answer. And so in order to score points, because if you're in the majority, you get a point for being on the green team. You're trying to stay off the orange team, because the orange team doesn't get any points. So there's a card in here that says who you think will make the best mayor. I want to say it's the mayor. Might be president, but I think it's the best mayor. And pick 3, it's the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, or the Cowardly Lion. Now, I don't care how much you think the Cowardly Lion might make the best mayor. You gotta assume that everybody else is gonna say the Tin Man. And you have to write down the Tin Man in order to score points. It's not about trying to be right, it's trying to be in the majority. This is a great game that we've introduced to folks, and it is so much fun. So, but like I said, there's an issue that comes from playing this game. Might not be a big one, but it's there nonetheless. The last game I want to talk about is this game here, Flip 7. Now, I know you're wondering, what issue does this game have? It doesn't. It really doesn't. I mean, it's called, they got on the cover, the greatest card game of all time. People might have an issue with that. But I think this is the perfect game to introduce to folks, to show folks about these different card games and stuff. Because it's pretty much just blackjack. The deck is made up of 1-1, 2-2s, 3-3s, all the way up to 12-12s. And you're going to deal a card to everybody at the table, and then when you come back around to them, you ask them, do you want another card or do you want to stay? If they stay, then they'll score the points off their whatever card. So they have a 7, they're going to score 7 points. But you can say, give me another card. You give them another card, and let's say you give them a 6, then they're still in the game. But if you give them another 7, then they bust. So they're out of the round. They don't score any points that round. And so there are also other cards in the deck. There's Second Chance, will let you avoid a bust. Then there's Freeze, which you could play on yourself and play on somebody else. And like I said, somebody might be getting a lot of points. You might say, here, Freeze. Now they're out of the round. And then there's Flip 3. You can play it on yourself or play it on somebody else and flip 3 cards. And if they get the same number, then they bust, you know. I mean, this is just a really easy, simple card game to teach. So, like I said, there's no issues with this game. And that is Flip 7. This is a really, really fun one. So, I guess the point of this video is like I said, these are our go-to games to introduce to folks. You know, these are very light games, easy to learn games or whatever. But sometimes there might be some challenges or pitfalls that you might face, you know, and they could be minor, but you're just aware of them. And like I said, sometimes a light board game to you might not be light to somebody else. So we have to be aware of that and to get people to understand. Also, it's just a board game. We can't invest too much into it. Today, we play board games to have fun. I mean, especially the way the world is today. Yeah, we just want to have fun, pretty much. And so I think these board games really fit the bill. Now, if you like the contents of this video, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And let us know in the comments, are there any games that you've introduced people to that like probably maybe had some issues or whatever, or how well did it go, you know? And I'm Dwayne. This has been Blackboard Gaming, and I will see you next time.